a bit of background on the Facebook platform itself. It's been around for a little while now, and as developers, which I am primarily a technical developer on the platform, we've had a lot of problems with the platform changing overnight without any warning. So we were very overjoyed to see that Facebook have finally given us hope in the future that they're going to let us know what's going to happen and when, which means a great deal, and we're very pleased about that. And if you're a developer, or if you have any interested apps over the long term, you'll also need to pay attention to what they come out with. So I'm going to cover a lot of the same things that Josh covered, but I'm going to try and give it a more technical orient, and try and explain some of the things that you can do to help mitigate any negative impact these changes might have on your existing apps. Okay, so why have they come out with this roadmap? Well, they've given some good reasons at the top, and that's from the blog post there. They want to simplify things for both users and developers. I think one of the lessons that Facebook have learned from Facebook Lite is that the Facebook UI is actually quite difficult for people to use, especially if they're new users, or if they're over the age of 50, which is a lot of where their new users have been coming from. So they want to simplify it. They want to improve app discovery and engagement. Now, Josh mentioned that briefly. Engagement is the key thing, and finding those apps that your friends are using, and sort of filtering out the spam from the actual stuff that you care about. And also, they want to provide better tools, basically. So this is at the core for their business. Their business model is they want better tools for developers to make their platform better. So what's out? What they've done is basically they're removing stuff with one hand and giving us stuff with the other hand. So what is out? Notifications are out, both user to user and app to user. Profile boxes, which have been slowly dying really over the past 6 months. Profile boxes will be gone forever now. Well, until the next iteration. Profile boxes used to be a big deal back when there wasn't a tabbed profile, but now they're hardly ever looked at, as far as we know. So those will be gone. The verified application program, which was launched about 8 months ago, which essentially was a process by which an application could apply to get a stamp of approval, essentially, from Facebook. Facebook would vet the app to make sure it wasn't doing any bad practices or misleading the users, and gave it a badge. Well, they're discontinuing that program. To be in that program, you have to pay about $400, but they're discontinuing it. If you do have verified apps, they'll refund you pro rata. And their idea is that every app now is going to be subject to the same standards as the verified apps. We'll get into that in a bit. Feed templates are going away. You would need to use something else now. And miscellaneous publish methods are going away. So what have they come back and given us? Well, you saw the bookmarks. You saw there'll be dashboards, which is they're separating applications and games, and we'll come to that in a bit. Real email addresses, obviously, which Josh mentioned. Simplifying the inbox and the way messages are composed. And finally, stream attachments and stream publish, which have been around for a while, but now they will be the only way to get stuff onto the stream. Okay, so what's already happened? Well, we saw from Josh the news feed has changed. There's a live feed and a news feed. The news feed is the black box, which nobody well, hopefully Facebook understands how it works, but we don't. It's their interestingness filter. The live feed is all content, but only from a set of 250 connections. It's not everyone you know. There's only a few. The bookmark button is live. There's a FB Connect Share widget, which replaces the Share button for Connect sites, which is live. And action links on feed stories, which I'll show you in a minute, I have changed as well. All right, so first up, bookmarks. We've seen from Josh what they are. How do you use them? Well, you can use the FBML tag called FB Bookmark, and that shows that button. Until the actual functionality is in Facebook, all that's going to do is show this dialog. But when they do make those changes live, it will actually bookmark the app for your user. You can also use the JavaScript API, show bookmark dialog, which will do essentially the same thing. And that works for both Connect and for FBJS pages. There's also an SQL column on the permissions table, which lets you know, and you can query and find out which users have bookmarked your app. All right. So the stream updates. This is the same image. I think we used the same internet for research, Josh. So basically, this is the action link. This last one. Previously, you could put about 3 or 4 in, and it was basically an avenue for apps to clutter up the newsfeed. So they fought back, and you can only have 1 link now, and that's already live. So how do you publish things to the stream? What methods do you use? Well, previously, you could status set, you could publish a note, you could publish a video. There was about 5 or 6 different ways to get data into the stream. A few months ago they released Stream Publish, which was meant to unify everything, and people have started using it. Instead of specifying what content to publish in the method call, you gave it an attachment basically. So now the only way to get stuff into the stream as of December 20th is going to be the stream publish methods. So stream.publish is the server-side RESTful server method. There's 2 JavaScript methods, one for FBJS and one for Facebook Connect. And the way it works, the JavaScript ones can show a dialog, and you can optionally always show it or only show the dialog if they haven't given you stream publish permissions. Okay. The guidelines, as Josh mentioned, you have to explicitly react to a user's action before you show a JavaScript pop-up asking them to publish a story. The display changes, basically, they're cleaning up the feed, making it easier for users to see and scan what's going on. Now this stuff is all happening in November, which is this month. They're rolling out really quickly. So if you do have apps out in the wild that are using notifications heavily, or using feed templates, you're going to need to go back and change those to use stream attachments and stream publish. Right, so before the notifications API goes away, Facebook are going to allow applications to ask for this new email permission. After they release the ability to ask for the email permission, 30 days after that, notifications will not be supported anymore. So the idea being that if you really need to send stuff to your users, you have to ask them explicitly to give you their email address. There's a new share dialog, which we saw before. Essentially, it is a replacement for user-to-user notifications. The only shortcoming with this method is that you can only specify one recipient when you show this dialog. The user can then select more users to send it to, but you can no longer send a notification from your user of your app to 5 or 6 people, for example. You can't do that, only one. Another interesting change, the Canvas page, which previously is basically your app rendering a section of the Facebook page with the Chrome around it, Facebook's header and ads on the right. That's going to change, so you can brand it or change the colors of it. So basically, Facebook want to let users know that they are no longer looking at a page that's rendered by Facebook. So it's part of the war, basically, between Facebook and platform developers, really. Everyone wants a piece of Facebook users, so they're trying to protect themselves. There's also, the verified program is ending. Profile boxes will be gone, as well as info sections. Did any of you developers ever use an info section on the profile info tab? No, yeah, neither did I. So we won't miss that. The only way to get any of your application content into a profile, be it a user, a fan page, is via an application tab. That's going to be the only way to get any of your application content into the profile. Obviously, you've got the stream and the profile, but this is the only way now. No more boxes. One thing that will cause consternation for those of you who have serious application tab apps is that the width of the application tab canvas is going to shrink from 760 to about 520. And that can be, that's basically, you've got to go back to the drawing board if you have a complicated UI or if you're showing a lot of data. This is going to happen next month and early in the next year. So you've got a bit more time for these changes. Next up is a user feature, basically. So dashboards. This is the left-hand menu, which is going to replace what we've got now on the home page. You can separate your apps into an application or a game, and essentially Facebook are going to provide for developers a dashboard for the user showing the games that they were playing and the apps they're using, as well as the games and apps that their friends are using. So it's part of the application discovery, finding relevant apps and games for the user.